Please raise your hands if you speak only one language. Now raise your hand if you know somebody who speaks only one language. You're all mistaken. Everybody in this room, nay, everybody in this world speaks at least two languages. English or whatever their native language may be, and most importantly, body language. First and foremost, most of our communication is non-verbal. We use body language for most of our communication. And I will prove that with an experiment right now. Before I begin, I would like to ask everybody a question. Please raise your hands if you speak only one language. Now raise your hand if you know somebody who speaks only one language. You're all mistaken. Everybody in this room, nay, everybody in this world speaks at least two languages. English or whatever their native language may be, and most importantly, body language. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. As you may have figured, today I'm going to speak about body language. Before we begin, what exactly is body language? We hear about it, we hear people talking about it, you just heard me talk about it, but what exactly is body language? Body language is a form of communication using a speaker's body movements, facial expressions, voice tone, and loudness. Social scientists use a technical term for it, non-verbal communication. That's all it is, body language. But why is this important? Why am I here telling you body language is the most important language you speak? First and foremost, most of our communication is non-verbal. We use body language for most of our communication. And I will prove that with an experiment right now. This experiment is going to involve me saying two statements, and you are going to have to guess which statement is the truth. Ready? Okay, let's do it. Fallout is my favorite video game. Grand Theft Auto is my favorite video game. Now close your eyes. Everybody close your eyes. Raise your hands if you think Fallout is my favorite video game. Raise your hands if you think Grand Theft Auto is my favorite video game. Okay, open your eyes and look around. Everybody raise their hand for Grand Theft Auto. Why? How does everybody know that Grand Theft Auto is my favorite video game even though you guys have never discussed this with me before? And the answer is obvious, because the way I said it. And this is exactly what we do on a day-to-day basis. Along with using our words to speak, we use our bodies. And what is more important is that when people listen to us, they give preference to our non-verbal communication over our verbal communication to understand what we are saying. This is how we know when a person is lying to us. This is how we know when somebody is being facetious with us. This is how I know when my wife is mad at me even though she says everything is fine. No need for words there. And speaking of words, that brings me to my second point. Let's do a survey again. How many of you have been to a country whose native language you do not speak? Okay, how did you communicate? Pointing and gesturing, right? And that is my second point. Non-verbal communication transcends languages. You don't have to know the other person's language to communicate. Two people who have never met and don't speak the same language can communicate just by using non-verbal gestures. And there are some variations in some cultures how they interpret different signs and signals, but the basic expressions are the same. For example, if you see a Japanese tourist who does not speak any English crying in front of Sears Tower, how many of you are going to think he's happy? How many people in this room will think he's happy? None. Right? Another example, how many of you watch the Olympics? Okay? Almost every single winner who won, what was the gesture that they did? How do people who belong to different cultures, speak different languages, show the same gestures after winning? It's because non-verbal communication transcends languages. Why? And you have to ask yourself, why? Why does non-verbal communication transcend languages? And the answer to that is because non-verbal communication or body language is innate to human beings. What is every baby's first words? Mama. Why? Because the parents teach him that. We have to teach babies languages. But we don't have to teach a baby to smile. We don't have to teach a baby to cry. And the baby knows how to use those non-verbal cues to communicate with adults. That's because body language is innate to human beings. Remember the winning gesture? Okay? They did a study on people who were born blind and who were never exposed to others. Blind people who were born blind show the same gesture after winning. They never had the chance to witness another person do it. A Princeton study concluded that people can predict with 70% accuracy who is going to win the US Senate race by just looking at the pictures of the candidates. That's how innate nonverbal communication is to human beings. Friends, nonverbal communication is a very important aspect of human life. It affects which job you're going to get. It affects your relationships with other people, and it affects even which partner you may end up with. So as Toastmasters, it is our responsibility not only to improve our verbal communication, but also our non-verbal communication. Because as the old saying goes, actions are louder than words. Thank you.